Have you ever felt like something massive was about to shift in your life, but you couldn't quite put your finger on what it was? Like the universe was trying to tell you something, sending you signals that you were on the verge of a profound transformation? Maybe you keep seeing the same numbers everywhere. Maybe you're having vivid dreams that feel almost too real. Or perhaps you've noticed that doors you've been pushing on for years suddenly seem to be opening effortlessly. What if I told you that these aren't just random occurrences? What if these are actually cosmic breadcrumbs? Signs that the universe is orchestrating something extraordinary in your life? Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant minds of the 20th century, to explore three unmistakable signs that your life is about to transform in ways you never imagined. And here's what makes this so powerful. Jung didn't just theorize about these phenomena. He experienced them himself, documented them in his patients, and developed a framework that bridges ancient wisdom with modern psychology. By the end of this video, you'll not only recognize these signs when they appear in your own life, but you'll understand exactly what to do when they show up. Because recognizing the sign is only half the battle. Knowing how to respond is where the real magic happens. Before we begin, if you're someone who's felt like you're on the edge of something big, hit that like button and subscribe with notifications on, because we're going on a deep journey together. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming. Now let's start with something that might be happening to you right now. Section 1. Synchronicity. The universe's language. Carl Jung was sitting in his office in 1909 when something extraordinary happened. He was having an intense conversation with Sigmund Freud about the nature of reality and consciousness. Suddenly, there was a loud bang in the bookcase beside them, so powerful it made them both jump. Jung turned to Freud and said, "That was an example of what I call a catalytic exteriorization phenomenon." Freud dismissed it. But then Jung predicted it would happen again. And seconds later, another explosive bang rang out from the bookcase. This was one of Jung's first documented experiences with what he would later call synchronicity. Meaningful coincidences that seem to defy the laws of probability. Jung defined synchronicity as the simultaneous occurrence of two meaningfully, but not causally connected events. In simpler terms, when things happen at the same time in a way that's deeply meaningful to you, but there's no logical cause and effect relationship. Let me share something personal. 3 years ago, I was at a crossroads in my life. I had been thinking obsessively about making a major career change, but fear was holding me back. I kept asking the universe for a sign. One morning, I was listening to a podcast, and the guest mentioned a specific book about transformation. I paused the podcast and opened Instagram. The very first post in my feed was someone holding that exact book with a caption about how it changed their life. Coincidence? Maybe. But then, that afternoon, I went to a coffee shop I'd never been to before. As I waited in line, the person in front of me was reading the same book. We started talking, and it turned out they had left their corporate job 2 years prior to pursue their passion. Exactly what I was considering. Within 1 week, I encountered that same book 7 different times in completely unrelated contexts. That's synchronicity, and it was the universe's way of getting my attention. Deep dive, the science behind synchronicity. Now, skeptics will say this is just confirmation. Bias, that you notice things more when you're thinking about them. And yes, there's truth to that psychological phenomenon. But Jung went deeper. Jung proposed that there's a layer of consciousness beneath our individual minds called the collective unconscious. This isn't just your personal memories or experiences. It's a shared reservoir of human experience, archetypes, and wisdom that we all tap into. Think of it like this. Imagine the internet. But instead of computers being connected through wires and signals, human minds are connected through this invisible web of consciousness. When you're on the verge of a major life transformation, your psyche begins to resonate at a different frequency. You become more attuned to the collective unconscious, and this is when synchronicities multiply. Jung worked with physicist Wolfgang Pauli to explore whether synchronicity might be a fundamental principle of the universe alongside causality. They theorized that meaning itself might be woven into the fabric of reality, not just random particles bouncing around. Modern quantum physics has actually discovered phenomena that Jung would have loved. Quantum entanglement shows that particles can be instantaneously connected across vast distances. Some scientists are now exploring whether consciousness itself might operate on quantum principles. How to recognize synchronicity. So how do you know when you're experiencing real synchronicity versus just ordinary coincidence? First, emotional resonance. True synchronicity hits you with an emotional charge. It gives you goosebumps, makes your heart race, or fills you with a sense of awe. Your body knows before your mind does. Second, timing. Synchronicities often occur during transition. Periods when you're struggling with a major decision, grieving a loss, or standing at a crossroads. The universe speaks loudest when you're most in need of guidance. Third, repetition. Like my book example, true synchronicities don't happen just once. The universe will send the same message through multiple channels until you finally pay attention. It's like getting text messages, emails, and phone calls all saying the same thing. Fourth, they answer an inner question. Synchronicities aren't random, they're responsive. They speak directly to something you've been pondering, worrying about, or seeking guidance on. Jung had a famous case of a patient who was very rational and stuck in her psychological treatment. She told him about a dream involving a golden scarab beetle. As she was describing this dream, Jung heard a tapping at the window. He opened it, and a golden green scarab beetle flew into the room. Extremely rare for that region and time of year, this breakthrough moment shattered her rigid rationality and allowed real healing to begin. What synchronicity means for your transformation. Here's what most people miss. Synchronicity isn't just the universe saying hello, it's a sign that you're aligning with your true path. When synchronicities start appearing frequently in your life, it means 1. Your conscious desires are aligning with your unconscious wisdom. The different parts of your psyche are working together instead of against each other. 2. You're becoming more aware and present. Synchronicity requires consciousness to witness it. When you notice these patterns, it means you're waking up to a deeper level of reality. 3. Major change is imminent. Jung observed that synchronicities cluster around moments of profound transformation. Births, deaths, career changes, relationship shifts, spiritual awakenings. Think of synchronicities as the universe's way of saying, you're on the right track. Keep going. I'm guiding you towards something important. But here's the crucial part. You have to act on them. Synchronicity is an invitation, not a guarantee. It's the universe opening a door, but you still have to walk through it. So if you've been experiencing unusual coincidences, pay attention. Document them. Follow their threads, because they're leading you somewhere. But synchronicity isn't the only sign. Let me tell you about something even more powerful that might be happening while you sleep. Section 2. Archetypal Dreams, Messages from the Depths. Introduction to the Power of Dreams. Picture this. You're being chased by a shadowy figure through endless corridors. You wake up with your heart pounding, or maybe you dream of flying, of meeting a wise old man, of finding a hidden room in your house you never knew existed. Jung spent decades studying dreams, not just any dreams, but what he called big dreams. These aren't the random processing dreams, where your brain is just filing away the day's information. These are archetypal dreams that feel different, more vivid, more important. Jung himself experienced a series of powerful dreams and visions that predicted World War I. He saw Europe covered in blood, massive floods, and destruction. These weren't symbolic personal problems. They were his psyche, tapping into something much larger. After the war broke out, Jung realized his unconscious had been warning him. This experience convinced him that the psyche is far more than just personal. It's connected to collective events and larger patterns of human experience. What are archetypal dreams? So what exactly are archetypal dreams? Archetypes are universal patterns and images that exist in the collective unconscious. They're not specific images, but templates, like the hero, the wise old man, the great mother, the shadow, the trickster. These archetypes appear in every culture's mythology, fairy tales, and religious texts because they represent fundamental human experiences and psychological structures. When you dream of these archetypes, you're not just processing your personal experiences. You're tapping into the deepest layers of human wisdom and experience. Here's how you know you're having an archetypal dream. First, the dream has numinosity. That's Jung's term for a quality of mystery, awe, and spiritual power. You wake up feeling like you've experienced something sacred or profound. Second, the imagery is mythological or symbolic in nature. You might meet gods, demons, wise teachers, or encounter situations that feel more like fairy tales than everyday life. Third, the dream continues to haunt you. Days, weeks, even years later, you remember it vividly. It has a staying power that ordinary dreams don't possess. Fourth, the dream seems to be about something bigger than your personal life. It touches on universal themes: birth, death, transformation, the battle between good and evil, the journey into the unknown. Common archetypal dreams and their meanings. Let me break down some of the most common archetypal dreams and what they mean when they appear during times of life transformation. The shadow chase. You're being chased by a threatening figure, often dark, shadowy, or monstrous. This represents your shadow archetype, all the parts of yourself you've rejected or denied. When this dream intensifies, it's because your shadow is demanding integration. The life change you're approaching requires you to reclaim these rejected parts. Maybe you've denied your ambition, your anger, your sexuality, or your wildness. The chase is getting more intense because the universe is saying, you can't move forward until you turn around and face this. I spoke with someone who kept dreaming of being chased by a wild, angry woman. She was terrified. But when we explored it, she realized this represented her own suppressed rage. She'd been taught to always be nice, always accommodate others. Her next life chapter required her to set boundaries and advocate for herself. The dream stopped when she started expressing healthy anger in her waking life. The wise old man or woman. You meet a sage, guru, wizard, or elderly wise person who gives you guidance or a gift. This is the archetype of inner wisdom. When this appears repeatedly, it means your inner guidance system is coming online. The transformation ahead requires you to trust your own wisdom rather than constantly seeking external validation. The gifts or messages in these dreams are often literal advice for your situation. The death and rebirth. You dream of dying or of someone you love dying or of apocalyptic scenarios. These dreams are terrifying, but they're actually positive. Death in dreams almost never means literal death. It represents the death of your old self, old identity, old way of being. When these dreams multiply, it's because a part of your ego is dying to make room for the new you. The transformation coming isn't just an upgrade, it's a complete metamorphosis. The hidden room. You discover a new room in your house or an entire wing you never knew existed. Sometimes it's filled with treasure, sometimes it's chaotic and neglected. This represents undiscovered potential within yourself. The house is your psyche, and this dream appears when the universe is about to reveal new capacities, talents, or aspects of yourself that have been dormant. The water dream. Massive waves, floods, or deep oceans. Water represents the unconscious mind and emotions. When water dreams intensify, it means unconscious material is rising to the surface. The transformation coming will require you to navigate deep emotional territory and integrate aspects of yourself that have been submerged. Why these dreams appear before major life changes. Here's the fascinating part. Jung discovered that archetypal dreams don't just randomly appear. They emerge specifically during what he called critical moments in the individuation process. Individuation is Jung's term for becoming your true self, integrating all the fragmented parts of your psyche into a whole. It's the ultimate goal of human psychological development. The universe, or if you prefer, your unconscious mind, knows when you're approaching a threshold moment. Before you consciously realize a major change is coming, Your dreams start preparing you. Think of it like this. Your unconscious can see further ahead than your conscious mind. It's like standing on a mountain versus standing in a valley. The unconscious has the higher perspective and begins sending messages through dreams to prepare you for what's coming. These dreams are doing several things. Warning you about obstacles ahead, revealing resources and strengths you'll need, helping you integrate aspects of yourself necessary for the next chapter, preparing you emotionally and psychologically for change. What to do when archetypal dreams appear. So what should you do when you start having these powerful dreams? Step 1. Keep a dream journal. This is non-negotiable. Keep it by your bed and write down dreams immediately upon waking. Even fragments matter. Step 2. Don't interpret too quickly. Sit with the dream. Let it work on you. Archetypal dreams unfold their meaning over time. Sometimes the wisdom reveals itself weeks or months later. Step 3. Engage with the dream actively. Jung developed a technique called active imagination. In a meditative state, you re-enter the dream and interact with the figures there. Ask the shadow why it's chasing you. Ask the wise old woman what she wants to tell you. Step 4. Look for connections between dreams and waking life synchronicities. Often, the same message appears in both dreams and external events. These reinforcing patterns are the clearest signs of imminent transformation. Step 5. Honor the dream. Create art about it, share it with trusted friends, or perform a small ritual. When you honor archetypal dreams, you're saying yes to the transformation they're heralding. Dreams and synchronicities are powerful signs. But there's a third sign that might be the most challenging and most important of all. And if you're experiencing it right now, I want you to know you're not falling apart. You're breaking open! Section 3. The Dark Night. Crisis as Transformation. Introduction to the Dark Night. What I'm about to share might save your life, or at the very least, help you understand that what you're going through right now isn't a breakdown. It's a breakthrough in disguise. Jung called it the confrontation with the unconscious. Mystics call it the dark night of the soul. But whatever name you give it, it feels the same, like your life is falling apart. Maybe you've achieved everything you thought you wanted, but you feel empty. Maybe you've lost something or someone crucial to your identity. Maybe you're plagued by anxiety, depression, or a sense of meaninglessness that won't go away. Maybe you're questioning everything you thought you knew about yourself and your life. If this is you right now, take a deep breath. Because this darkness isn't the end, it's the doorway to your transformation. Jung's own Dark Night. Jung himself went through a profound psychological crisis between 1913 and 1917. After his break with Freud, he felt like he was losing his mind. He experienced overwhelming visions and heard voices. He withdrew from much of his professional life. He felt like he was descending into madness. But instead of suppressing these experiences, Jung did something radical. He engaged with them. He started painting, writing, and dialoguing with the figures that appeared in his visions. This material later became his famous Red Book. Jung later said, "The years when I was pursuing my inner images were the most important in my life. In them, everything essential was decided." From this crisis came all his major theories: archetypes, the collective unconscious, synchronicity, individuation. His greatest psychological crisis became his greatest creative and spiritual breakthrough. Why the Dark Night happens. The Dark Night isn't random. It has a purpose. And understanding this purpose changes everything. Here's what's actually happening during a dark night. Your old identity is dying. Every life structure, belief system, and identity you've built is fundamentally a construct. It serves you for a time, but eventually you outgrow it. The dark night happens when your soul has outgrown your current identity, but your ego is desperately clinging to who you've been. You're being stripped of illusions. All the things you thought defined you, your job, your relationships, your achievements, your beliefs, are revealed as temporary constructs. This is terrifying, but necessary. You're being emptied out to make room for something more authentic. You're descending to find treasure. In mythology, the hero must always descend into the underworld before returning transformed. You're in the underworld right now, the dark. buried parts of your psyche that you've ignored or repressed. Hidden down there is gold, your authentic self, your true purpose, your deepest wisdom. Jung believed that psychological symptoms, anxiety, depression, existential crisis, aren't just problems to be fixed. They're the psyche's way of forcing transformation when we refuse to change consciously. The stages of the dark night. The dark night typically moves through predictable stages. Stage 1, disruption. Something happens that shatters your normal life. A loss, a failure, a betrayal, or even just an achievement that doesn't bring the satisfaction you expected. This is the catalyst. Stage 2, descent. Everything starts to fall apart or lose meaning. You feel lost, anxious, depressed, or empty. You question everything. This is the most difficult stage, and most people try to escape it through distraction, addiction, or jumping into a new identity prematurely. Stage 3, the encounter. If you stay with the darkness instead of running, you eventually encounter what's been buried, your shadow, your unlived life, your authentic desires, your deepest wounds. This is confrontational but clarifying. Stage 4, integration. You begin to integrate what you've discovered in the darkness. You make changes in your external life that reflect your internal transformation. New values, new relationships, new directions emerge. Stage 5, rebirth. You emerge with a new identity, but this one is more authentic, more whole, more aligned with your true self. You're not the same person who entered the dark night. Signs your dark night is actually transformation. How do you know your crisis is actually a transformative dark night, rather than just depression or life falling apart? Here are the signs. Your old coping mechanisms aren't working. Things that used to soothe or distract you don't work anymore. This is the psyche forcing you to find a new way. You're questioning your fundamental beliefs and values. Not just doubting, but deeply reconsidering everything you thought was true. You feel pulled toward solitude and introspection. Even if it's uncomfortable, you're drawn inward. Synchronicities and powerful dreams are increasing. The first two signs we discussed often intensify during the dark night. Despite the pain, there's a sense of rightness. On some level, you know this has to happen, even though it's difficult. You're drawn to spiritual or philosophical questions. Who am I really? What's the meaning of life? What happens after death? These eternal questions become urgent. What to do during the dark night? If you're in the dark night right now, here's what you need to know. Don't try to fix it or escape it prematurely. This is the hardest advice, but the most important. The dark night has a purpose. Let it work on you. Find the right support. Not people who will just try to cheer you up or tell you to think positive. Find someone who understands transformation, a depth psychologist, a spiritual director, a wise friend who's been through their own dark night. Create meaning from the experience. Write, paint, make music, move your body. Express what you're going through. Jung's engagement with his visions through creative work was what saved him. Trust the process. This sounds like a cliché, but Jung discovered that the psyche has its own wisdom and timing. When you stop fighting the transformation, it completes faster. Look for the small lights in the darkness. The dark night isn't total darkness. There are glimmers, moments of insight, unexpected kindness, sudden clarity. These are breadcrumbs showing you the way through. And here's what I need you to hear. If you're in the dark night right now, you're not broken. You're not failing. You're in the most sacred part of your transformation. You're in the cocoon, and what's happening in that darkness is miraculous. The universe is changing your life. It's just doing it from the inside out. The universe speaks to you in three powerful ways when your life is about to transform. 1. Synchronicity. Meaningful coincidences that guide you toward your path, showing you that you're connected to something larger than yourself. 2. Archetypal dreams. Powerful messages from the unconscious preparing you for the journey ahead and revealing resources you didn't know you had. 3. The dark night, the painful but necessary. Dissolution of your old self to make room for who you're becoming. These aren't separate phenomena. They work together. Synchronicities guide you toward the threshold. Dreams prepare you for what's beyond it. And the dark night is the actual crossing. The death of who you were and the birth of who you're becoming. Jung spent his life studying transformation because he understood something profound. We're not meant to stay the same. We're meant to continuously evolve, die, and be reborn. The universe, whether you see it as God, consciousness, or simply the deep wisdom of the psyche, is always conspiring to help you become more whole, more authentic, more yourself. So here's what I want you to do right now. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I experiencing any of these three signs? Have there been unusual coincidences lately? Dreams that won't leave you alone? A sense that your old life doesn't fit anymore even if you can't explain why? If yes, then this is your moment. The universe is speaking to you. Your transformation has already begun. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these three signs are you experiencing right now? Sometimes just naming it helps you trust the process. And if this video resonated with you, do me a favor, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Someone who's going through a hard time and might not realize they're actually in the middle of a transformation. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we're going to keep exploring these deep, psychological and spiritual truths together. I'll leave you with this final thought from Jung. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Your pain has purpose. Your confusion has meaning. Your transformation is already happening. The universe is about to change your life, and now you know how to recognize the signs and trust the journey. Thank you for going on this deep dive with me. Until next time, trust the process, honor the signs, and remember, you're exactly where you need to be.